Congressman Burchett, good to have you again. Thank you for making the time. Happy Father's Day in advance.
Thank you, brother, and thank you for remembering your daddy. I remember my daddy very fondly. I set these 3 rifles behind me were some that he took off of folks that he dropped in combat in the Pacific. So I feel my father, like yours, was a bigger than life person who made some incredible sacrifices. He and Mama both. Mama lost a brother fighting the Nazis, and she flew an airplane during the Second World War. And my daddy was off in the Pacific. So I have some incredible memories of my daddy. And I want to say I appreciate you for remembering your father. I heard that speech live on TV. I was a young politico, not in the same party, of course, but I was very much impressed. My family was, as a Republican, I've been endorsed by a lot of labor groups that ticks off a lot of Democrats, but working people are friends of mine. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate your daddy.
Used to be a bunch of the values were universal, right? Family, taking care of your family, family being left alone unless someone's being hurt or they're hurting somebody else. Now everything's about division. So I respect your family's legacy of service as well as you continuing it. And we both know, boy doesn't become a man until he loses his daddy and has to figure out how to live it without him. Hard lesson, but true.
Toughest day of my life, brother. I know it was tough for you too, but go ahead. Let's go ahead with the questions.
All right, brother. So here we are, UFO time. First, are they going to happen? And is it going to be the real deal and not just government officials being given a pass by saying, oh, it's classified, it's too sensitive, can't talk to you about it?
Yeah, I'm going to bring in, I hope to bring in the gentleman you discussed earlier, as well as some other folks. I'd like to have a pilot, a Navy pilot. I don't want to bring anybody from the Pentagon. They've been responsible for covering this thing up for decades. I don't trust them. They lose over it. Since I've been in Congress 5 years, the last 5 years, they've failed every audit, yet nobody in Congress has the guts to ask them to correct their problem. You're looking right there at the Tic Tac videos that have been out for so long. And that hopefully one of the pilots that was involved with one of those following those UFOs at that time will be in attendance as well.
What about the scientists? Intel matters, but, there's spin involved with that. There's interpretation about how to message it and what it matters. And that starts to take us away from what we need here, which is somebody who's looking with a discerning eye to say, here's why we think this is what it is. And here's why, if it's the case, we don't know. I mean, that would go so far to help the American people see this as more as just a point of fascination. Here's what's known. Here's what's not. That's what scientists are supposed to do. We employ a ton of them. Are you getting any of them?
I hope so. I don't want to have a big cattle call. I don't want to have 15 people and we get off track pretty quick. Of course, I have to clear everybody with I'm not officially a chairman. But Chairman Comer has given me a lot of responsibility, as well as Speaker McCarthy has said this is basically my baby. I don't know if it's because they don't want to touch it or the fact that they understand that I understand a little bit more about it than most of the folks up there. And I've studied this issue for years.
Is in the business of picking a conclusion and then looking for proof to back it up. You want to be doing the opposite thing here, Congressman, which is we're trying to figure out what to make of these things. And we want the proof to go with it. So do you think you'll be able to do that here? Because, if you don't, 2 things. One, a lot of people are looking towards seeing you as their advocate on this and their agent. And 2, if you don't, they'll probably think you're an alien.
That's true. There's a lot of division, as you can imagine. Sometimes it kind of reminds me of the Baptist church. The UFO community is divided a lot. I know you're probably not Baptist. You're probably a good Catholic, but I try to be a good Baptist. But there's a lot of division in the church, just as there is in the UFO community. So I'm just going to try to stick to the facts. People that have firsthand knowledge are witnesses that are credible people, and that really, and a lot of these people are making some sacrifices, like the whistleblower you had on your show. He's making an incredible sacrifice. He's obviously under attack right now. There he is right there on the screen. And, as I've stated many times, he's a patriotic American. He served his country. He's decorated. And maybe that doesn't account for much in Washington, D.C., but dadgummit in East Tennessee, those people are the ones we hold close to our hearts.
I hear you.
When they go out, they rarely have to pay for a beer.
Two obvious things. One is my faith is a choice to deal with my flaws. Nothing good about me. I wouldn't have to have religion if I were good inherently. I need it to try to get me anywhere away from the hot zone. Second is, this is about the right to know. And that's really what it is. I'm open, of course. I'm open. What bothers me and has always bothered me about this is people who work for me telling me, you don't get to know, and we're not even going to tell you why you don't get to know it. It doesn't just spur a lot of conspiracies. It's just anathema to the transparency of a democracy. That's what I'm hoping you can break through. I don't care what the answers are. I just think we deserve them.
Well, when I get off the air, I'll look up anathema on Google. But
it's the opposite. You know what I'm talking about. Don't play that.
I know, but I know what you're getting at. And, it's an arrogance that you see in government. I think that's why folks like your pop and my dad were successful in politics, because they surrounded themselves with good people and they weren't arrogant and they listened to people. They won't even release the Kennedy files, brother. I mean, there's nobody it was remotely involved with that assassination that's alive now,
right.
Yet they won't release it. There's an arrogance, and I believe a corruption. If you start looking at, I don't want to get too deep into it, but the reverse engineering, there's Congress people making 70, 80% return on their investments on both sides of the aisle. There's an inherent corruption in Washington, D.C., and our elected offices in Washington that seem to just follow everywhere. And I believe that if you were to, it's like, I think if you were to bring a UFO into our scientific community today, it'd be sort of like taking I'm an old motorcycle guy, taking a Harley Davidson and giving it to the people on the Mayflower. It'd be a bright, shiny object. They wouldn't be able to figure out how to change the spark plugs. They don't know enough about gasoline. They might get it started eventually, but they'd probably lay it over in the parking lot at the Walmart or something. So I just think the technology is there. I think something's been recovered. I think it's been passed on to some industry giants. And I believe the government has been covering this thing up for decades.
Well, that would be the worst. And you used the right word, arrogance, that the people are too stupid. They're not sophisticated enough. They won't get it. I think we make that mistake all the time. And I'll be watching the hearings. I'll be covering them. I'm sure they'll give you a platform at least the first day or two. But for the duration of this conversation, you will have a place here. I want to ask you one quick political question before I let you go.
Sure, brother.
I totally get wanting to understand the there behind the most recent indictment of the former president, Trump. I get it. I don't get the party saying, if you want to run for president, you got to promise to pardon him. Why would the party of law and order want people to take a position before they even know what the case is?
I don't know. That's probably why there's not a lot of Tim Burchetts in Congress, brother. I don't get that line of work at all. I don't get along with our party leadership. Oddly enough, I'm the 435th most powerful member of Congress, and I've never met our party chairman. I've never met her once. So I question a lot of their strategy or strategery, as the case may be. And I don't get along with them, brother. I'm kind of on the outside looking in. I'm a hardcore conservative. I'm just not angry about it. And maybe I just don't fit in with that crowd. I'm really not the highbrow country club crowd that Washington, D.C. seems to pull people into. And I just, the other night after we beat the Democrats soundly in baseball, they had a party. And, I went back to my office to go to bed. I said, what are they going to have at the party? They're going to have whiskey there and probably some young ladies. And I'm a happily married man and I don't drink. So me and my buddy Gary Palmer, we just headed on back to the Capitol after the game because there's nothing. So, I go to Washington to work. I don't go to party. And so, we'll see what happens.
Well, look, you know where your true north is. And you do the job that they put you there to do. And my job is to give you a platform to talk about it and test what you come up with and why. And you'll always get that here. Congressman Tim Burchett, best to the memory of your father and to you and your family as well. I'll be looking forward to the hearings, not because we got to play this like it's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I just want government to be held to account for the people. Just tell us what it is, whether it's disappointing or not. Just give people what they pay for, which is transparency.
Some transparency, brother. That's exactly right. If I ever come to New York, I've never been there, but I would love to come there and you could take me around. That would be really cool.
Done. done and done. I'll bring you immediately out of the city, out east with me, and we'll go fish, because otherwise you'll die of culture shock.
Yes, sir, I will.
Take care, Congressman. Have a good weekend.